tonight is the night. If we're going to do it one day, it has to be with the Count of Buena Vista. The man who brought bubbles with traditional method to America. The man himself. You're going to be able to meet him. And if we're lucky, he's going to knight all of us. And we all can become Count tonight and tomorrow. It is in our head what we can become. Only the Counts can knight us. And the Queen of England. But we have the Count. It's possible for everyone. Dear friends, I can see you all coming. I love it. We have Dina, Nancy, Julie, Rajmi, Melissa. We have the fabulous Jen Lombard, our new DJ. Better and better every night. God, we're going to open a nightclub soon. That's going to be wild. We have Dylan, our chief technology man. Not only he's doing Facebook, Instagram, and loaded on YouTube as early as tomorrow morning. He's non-stop. Ladies and gentlemen, still a bachelor. There's a chance for all of you. Call 1-800-878-1123. I'm the matchmaker. And then Patrick Egan is with us on Facebook Live as well. And we have, of course, the fabulous Melissa Lynch, who is leading all of us. There she is. So, dear friends, isn't it any time in your life the moment where you ask yourself, who would I would have liked to be in history? I know it's a question that haunts all of us all the time. Am I born in the right century? Could I have had another life? Could I be someone else? Could I be reincarnated to be someone else? Or would it not have been great to be born in another time? My answer is soon to come. But to make him come, I would like to introduce a technique that you all know in order to help him to come, because on his family crest, he has this fantastic saber. On his family crest, he has a firm hand, because he helped the king of Hungary at the time and defended his country. And he probably sabered a lot of those battles like the hussars of Napoleon I. After winning a battle, what did they do? They did exactly what I'm going to do. So, dear friends, you take a bottle of your Buena Vista fantastic champagne. You obviously hold the bottle where the brand is. Very important to show your friend, because that's the moment in life you brag. That's the moment in life you say, this is me. I can do it. And this was in history the moment where the soldiers or the lovers were on one knee and were begging the beautiful lady to say yes. So I'm going to say, and hopefully the Count appears the moment I do that. I want to go back to the 19th century. Ladies and gentlemen, if I succeed, we'll see the Count. If I fail, the show is over. 1, 2, 3. Woo! I've succeeded so much that there's extra energy like we've never seen. I cannot tell you the last time I've opened a bottle where the Count came outside of the bottle. Look at this! Count of Buena Vista, welcome to the world. How does it feel, Count, to be with us today?
It is amazing. Jean-Charles Boisset. I have been watching from the past, and now here I am today with you, enjoying a remarkable rosé, it appears.
A rosé you've made, Count, in history. When did you succeed to discover this amazing mystery of fermentation in the bottle? Count, tell us.
It was part of our upbringing, Jean-Charles. I made wine from a very early age. And
How early, Count?
It's about 5 years old, I would say. 5. I believe it was the same time when you yourself began to make wine.
I told you we had a lot in common, but this is just the beginning, dear friends.
Well, method Champenois has been known for many hundreds of years, and it was made in Tokai as well, of course. Not anything like champagne, but sparkling wine method Champenois was made for over 250 years, and as a member of the Tokai wine trade, we of course brought in a lot of French champagne, but were experimentations. It was at Buena Vista in 1862 when we made method Champenois in the caves that now comprise what is called the Champagne Cellars in Sonoma at Buena Vista. So happy to see you in real person, John.
This is finally so exciting. The man of my dream, ladies and gentlemen. The man who had a dream from Eastern Europe, from one of the most powerful nations in the world, and who decided to cross the world to establish his phenomenal legacy and his family to America. Count! Tell us why, how, and count us the journey. We all want to dream with you of what is possible and all want to live this phenomenal American dream.
Jean-Charles Boisset, I believe that you are my reincarnation. I am an entrepreneur, a businessman, and my dream was to come to America to make great European wine. In 1841, my wife Eleonora and our boys Geza, Attila, and Arpad sold all of our land and moved all the way to Wisconsin.
Wisconsin to make wine?
Well, that wasn't an exaggeration. It was too cold.
I must keep drinking because I hope there's a better ending to that story.
But you see, in 1842, Wisconsin was the West, and you could acquire land at $1.25 an acre from the federal government. And so I did this exact thing. I bought land. I laid out a town. It's now called Sauk City. It was called Harshdeep Town at the time. If only I'd thought of water parks, John Charles. They're very popular there now.
Indeed, it became the thing in the Midwest. But then,
but there was great success. A butcher shop, a brickyard, a stagecoach line, a ferry boat, but too cold for the grapevines in Wisconsin. In 1848, gold discovered in California.
Well, talking about gold, we should try one of this amazing golden color as we're talking.
I think so.
This one. Count this one, because now I secretly served you the famous Chardonnay from Sonoma County, as you know, that you make. So we making a break in the journey to introduce a wine that speaks gold for the gold rush, which should have been the time I came to California. Can you imagine if I had the fortune to come here in 1848? This is one of my dreams, dear friends, of having come to California and San Francisco at that time. Count, tell us what you did at that time as we drinking those two great wines.
After a journey across the United States from Wisconsin to San Diego, elected the very first sheriff of San Diego County in 1850, I began Buena Vista 1857. And in that year, my workmen planted 40,000 new grapevines and did so every year for the next 8 years. We dug the first wine caves in California, the first stone winery buildings in front of them.
But before that, during the gold rush, I hear about an amazing story that you were in charge of the vaults.
Well, yes, indeed. I did hop over that part of my story. But in fact, in 1853...
Don't hop around too fast.
Well, there's so much to tell, Jean-Charles.
What a colorful person.
1853, President Pierce appointed me to be the very first assayer of the U.S. Mint in San Francisco. And so I became an expert metallurgist, assayer, and an expert at taking out the lesser parts of gold ore and producing gold and silver bars. And so, in fact,
gold and silver
oh,
bars.
it was quite a
To
lucrative
produce
endeavor.
sabers as well.
Um,
You could have done that, imagine.
well, certainly we did saber. And your mention of the hussars did bring it all back to me, of course, Jean-Charles. The hussars, the great horsemen, the finest cavalry, known in history. And in fact, Jean-Charles, you may not know this, but in fact, a Hungarian nobleman offered his services to George Washington at the beginning of the Revolution 1875, and in fact, the United States cavalry was begun by a Hungarian who took over the entire thing and started the U.S. cavalry. That is,
I'm not surprised
there you
because
go.
they were great, phenomenal, focused,
Well, horsemen, of course.
unbelievable horsemen. The school of horses in Hungary is probably one of the most famous in the
Well,
world.
to this day, yes.
So, but tell us about, as we gotta go back to your story. First of all, we tasting with the Passion Collection, one of my favorite glass of crystal. And dear friends, why crystal? Because the Count could never ever experience anything else. Hungary has been one of the most famous country to this day of producing some of the best crystal in the world. So this is French, of course, 1764 Baccarat, unbelievable glass that we designed. So for the Count, we tasting his golden production.
Jean-Charles, even though the glass itself is large, it's balanced perfectly in your hand. It, after a while, seems almost weightless, even with its magnificence and weight. Chardonnay, of course, is the vitis vinifera that is now grown all over the world. It is from where you are from, Burgundy, of course. And in the New World, the expressions such as created by our winemaker Brian Maloney for this 2018 Sonoma County Chardonnay is emblematic of this wonderful grape. So we have butterscotch, we have
But
lime aromas.
not to interrupt your fabulous description, lime aromas, what else? What else does this wine tell you? Maybe a child of yours.
Well, I would say that it has a slight vanilla aroma because of the oak.
And I said a child of his because the Count. How many children did you have?
Well, thank you. I am proud to describe my 4 boys, Geza, Attila, Arpad, and Bela.
4 boys, can you imagine?
And
what a family for your beautiful wife.
Well, and then my daughters, Ida and Otelia. So 6 children in all.
And you dedicated a wine for each.
We now at Buena Vista have a wine for each of my children and also other special people who join the family. We make a Natalia Chardonnay for General Vallejo's daughter, who became my daughter-in-law on June 1st, 1863, when the double wedding of the century took place.
The dream wedding.
2 of my
You
sons.
must say the story.
Wow.
This is the dream that I wish will live again very soon, in fact.
Well,
As early as this year, we're going to reenact it.
a very fun thing to do. It was in 1861, John Charles,
Yes.
when I returned from the 7-month journey to Europe to acquire cuttings of Vitis vinifera. And upon arrival back in Sonoma, my son Attila, who'd been studying on the East Coast, and at a very fine university, Columbia, in fact.
Of course,
And,
yes.
well, and then also Arpad was studying making champagne at Devinoge, and they returned. And upon arrival in the Sonoma Valley, these 2 handsome, well-educated, wealthy young men excited the interest of many of the young ladies of the Sonoma Valley. And 2 years later, true love matches were made. And my son Attila, who was 26, married Natalia 23. She was an old maid, to be straightforward, Jean-Charles, but 23 at that time was extraordinarily long in the tooth for a bride, I might add.
Unbelievable.
But 23 years old, my son Arpad, and 19, the beautiful Jovita.
So he married an older lady than himself.
Oh, he was 26.
Oh.
She was 23. It was just at the time.
The more mature was the man for once.
General Vallejo had been trying to marry Natalia off for years, and she always refused, suitor after suitor. It seemed like she knew that my sons would appear.
And you believe in that? You believe in destiny, Count?
In this case, there's no question about it. Of those two marriages, there are progeny of the Attila and Natalia line upon this earth to this day. This is how successful that marriage was.
And I'm so excited about all those wines because we get to discover, thanks to you, an amazing array of grape varieties, unbelievable name lines with each of your children. What a great thing to pay homage to your children and make wine under their names. But Count, there's a wine we've got to try. Before we go back to the Burgundian variety, this is a wine that we all adore, we all love. And as a young boy in the old Burgundy I was born, next to the Clos Vougeot where you went in, I believe, the 1860s.
61.
1861, the
Visited
Count.
Vougeot, your hometown.
He was literally 500 yards from where I was born. And the Count did the most amazing thing. He cumulated the wonderful title of being an aristocrat and at the same time an authority man, a man of order. He was a sheriff. So Count, in this glass, you got to finish and you got to taste the new vintage of what carries the title you had for a short period of time. So Count, how long did it last? And how did it feel to be a sheriff of California?
Well, it was a difficult and trying time, Jean-Charles. I did not intend to become a sheriff, but I was asked. I ran for office in April of 1850. I received 107 votes. My closest opponent only 47 votes. It was a nice plurality if you look at the overall numbers. And so, in fact, for 2 years I was the sheriff of San Diego County. The jurisdiction was huge, Jean-Charles. In 1850...
One of the biggest jurisdictions in California.
At that time, 1850, the largest county. It comprised the current counties of Imperial, Riverside, and San Diego counties. And all I had to rule this restive district were horses and rifles and pistols and deputies and the willingness to use these tools when necessary.
Aha! Did that have to happen?
Often, Jean-Charles. It was a common night for myself would be to explain to the drunks shooting up their pistols in the streets that they must stop this or I shall throw them into the hoosegow.
I hear your prison was quite easy to escape from. Is that true?
I am happy to take this historic opportunity to explain that of all the amazing things I've done, that is not true.
The story I heard.
Yes, I know.
Just to let
you know.
The Count here present built such a wonderful, lavish, exciting prison that one, the prisoner loved it because they loved the Count, and two, they just went through the walls and escaped as simply as walking out.
Yes, in point of fact, it has been said for many years that I mixed the concrete incorrectly, allowing the first prisoner, a drunk, to escape. That didn't happen. But many amazing things did after a year and a half of sheriffing and decided to run for political office. And in fact was elected to the state legislature in 1852. And on January 2nd of that year, I boarded the steamboat, the Golden Era, and went all the way to the city of Vallejo, where the legislature was held that year. And then is when I saw for the first time the city of San Francisco.
Now, a very important question, Count, and I have many. I have two big questions, but I'm going to start with the first. Why the location of Buena Vista, as far as so close to the famous town of Sonoma? So, for everyone, we're between Sonoma and Napa at the gate of both of the most magical valley in California. And we virtually are where the Bear Flag Republic happened. So Count, tell us a little bit about this context of why there, because
course.
It always walks in my mind, where would I have come if I didn't have any territory and everything would be open? Where would I start?
So, an excellent question. Now, one reason why I originally went to San Diego was that the beginning of the California wine industry was in Southern California.
Yes.
Not Northern California. And a man named Jean-Louis Vignier, a Frenchman,
Another one.
was making wine commercially as early as 1839. He had brought vinifera with him. He was renowned for making high-quality wine, and the San Fernando Valley was the heart of the wine trade and wine business in the 1840s. And in fact, there was discussions and reports back, even to Wisconsin, that the southern coast of California was the ideal place to grow grapes. This was sadly not true. It is too temperate to grow grapes.
That's right. That's what I would
the
think.
vines need to have a time, a fallow period to go into dormancy. It is too warm there. But it was unknown at the time. And so this is one reason why I went to Southern California, San Diego. And when I met General Vallejo, you see, at the legislature.
The man who brought, as we all know, the independence to California.
To
Mexico.
Yes, well, he was arrested by the Bear Flags and threatened with death. But this is an interesting part of the story. He was on their side, curiously, as a believer that America should be that nation annexes Mexican California. So, General Vallejo invited me to his house in 1852, and to his vineyards, and to his winery, and I tasted his wine. And there is when I realized that the Sonoma Valley is the ideal wine valley upon our earth because of the volcanic soil, much like Tokaj, by the way, and then the influence of the maritime fog off the Bain Ocean, much like the Tija and the Bodrog rivers that come together at Tokaj Mountain. And so the red soil was redolent of memories of mine. And when I saw the soil, and I looked at the fog in the summer, and I said to myself, surely this is the perfect place.
You felt it.
I knew it.
And that was it.
And then the other important part to consider is that it almost never rains in California between May and October 15th. Now, one interesting part is that, you see, I was going through some of my writings just a few days ago, and I saw that in the 1860s, we were picking generally beginning early October and picking almost through November in the 1860s. And there's no way around the fact that now we begin picking as early as August and September. And by October, generally, we're done.
That's amazing.
This is literally what's happened. Yes.
So you felt that was the place.
Yes.
So
I knew it was the place, John Charles.
So tell us as well, briefly, because the Count, for all of us who are entrepreneurs, who are audacious, who have creativity, who have a dream, and this is so exciting to go down to the 19th and back to the 19th century. The Count did not have the great materials. He had mission grapes, hybrids, so to speak, are grapes you wouldn't necessarily drink today. He went to Europe and he said, those grapes can work, and I should bring them back to the US. So tell us about your thoughts and your journey back to Europe.
Well, thank you. It's a wonderful part of the story. So Buena Vista 1857 begun in 1861. I convinced the California legislature to allow me to be an official commissioner of the state of California as a representative of the legislature. And they produced beautiful letters of documentation, introductions. And with these, I went to Washington, D.C. I met the president, by the way.
Who was at the time?
It was Pierce at the time.
Oh, Pierce.
And so I went all the way to Europe then, and then did a 7-month journey, and my dream was to acquire vinifera, and I came back after 7 months with 100,000 cuttings, twigs about this big, 353 different varieties, And with these cuttings, I was determined to not just to make great wine, but to build a California industry. And so it came to be.
And you are the one responsible for all those great grapes that we're having today then.
All the grapes that we know and love were brought back by me. Now, whether or not I was the one who first brought Zinfandel to California has been a subject of interest for a very long time. My son Arpad, from after my sad demise by crocodile, always for the next 30 years told everyone that I was the one who first brought Zinfandel to California. And what can you say about a son who says nice things about you after you have been eaten by a crocodile?
Well,
that may not be strictly true.
We're going to go shortly to this. But we always say, don't we write the history we want to hear and the history we want it to be told? So I would partake with the Count and cheer with him on the fact that he was the one. And dear friends, we wrote an amazing book on the history of Sonoma and Buena Vista with Charles Sullivan. And he confirms that the Count was the first one to bring Zinfandel to America. So talking about Zinfandel, let's move quickly, swiftly to Pinot Noir. So Count, I know you're not drinking as fast as I am.
You put much in my glass, Jean-Charles.
Way too much, I forgive
Very
me.
good.
An amazing Pinot Noir from Bela. So now, dear friends, this is bottle 3,522 of only 4,000 produced by the Count for one of his children. I would let the Count explain us the history of this phenomenal wine.
Bela is from the Russian, this is a wine from the Russian River Valley. And in fact, this is the 2017, but the 2016 was the Grand Sweepstakes red wine for the Sonoma County Harvest Fair.
Maybe I want some too then.
1,300 red wines were submitted, and the previous year, 2016, was chosen as the single best red wine of the Sonoma Harvest Fair. This is a true fact. Thank you, Brian Maloney, our winemaker.
Isn't he doing an amazing job to Brian Maloney? Yes!
So Bela, the name, my sixth child, Bela, my fourth boy, and very little is known about Bela. He did accompany his brother Arpad to Alaska in 1899 on a disastrous journey. But all in all, he was a viticulturalist. He worked with his older brothers. And the Russian River Valley is where these grapes are sourced, which is one of the ideal places on earth to grow the thin-skinned early ripe.
So sensual, so elegant, so phenomenal. Such a level of sophistication. And I'm going to tell you, the Count
Delicious.
added those amazing open-top wooden fermenters that he saw, I assume, in Burgundy at the Chateau du Clos Vougeot.
I watched as the manual pigeage was done, Jean-Charles, the ancient method of transferring color and tannin from the skins into the juice. And so these techniques we have brought here to the future at Buena Vista. And we marry the old and the new. Here at my winery, we have gorgeous 3-ton open-top fermenters, Burgundian oak. You acquired yourself, Jean-Charles, after the retrofit in 2012 when we began making wine again. And how glorious it is, Jean-Charles.
It's the best place to come and to visit. And as you come to Buena Vista, only at the winery and available really, really sporadically, thanks to the ambassadors and a few other channels, the famous private reserve Cabernet Sauvignon.
Wow.
So Count, we have a few more seconds to spare.
Sure.
As a lot of our friends are going to be enjoying dinner or more, and a lot of excess and passion. They've heard that you've had many children, so maybe, like Dylan, a lot of fertility in the air. And maybe like Patrick, a newlywed soon, we never know. We need to give our friends the ultimate moment of the Count. Even though you're going to be back soon to tell us more stories, tell us about the reserve that led to the fantastic migration to Nicaragua.
So, private reserve Pinot Cabernet Sauvignon 2016, a truly superior wine from two noted vineyards in the Sonoma Valley, Monte Rosso, which of course is probably the single best vineyard, historic 80-year-old Cabernet vines, 100-year-old Cabernet vines, red soil as red as your shirt, Jean-Charles, volcanic soil, head pruned, dry farmed, and then Moon Mountain, the other place where we source these exceptional grapes. This gorgeous Cabernet is an expression of all that we do so well at Buena Vista, and we use a private reserve designation because going back to the early 1950s, Buena Vista produced a private reserve wine. So it has been glorious for you to bring me back to life.
After quite a departure. So dear friends, last story of the Count. When you disappear, how do we want to disappear? And I believe many of you know the story, but I think it's important as the Count is resurrected, reincarnated as himself, which is very rare. Tell us, Count, how you went.
Well, great success, John Charles. In 1866, 200,000 bottles a year, 500 acres of grapevines. It may have been the largest contiguous vineyard on earth. Sadly, the unknown vine disease had begun destroying the vines, and I was bankrupt in that year, 1866. My European techniques blamed for the death of the vines, and I went to Nicaragua to make rum. And by the way, I want you to know, Jean-Charles, that the rum gambit was going to work.
Was it?
Unquestionably. We had brought in the finest of copper kettles. We were making glorious rum until July 6, 1869, when I went for an exploration and, well, fell into a river filled with crocodiles.
But shall we say what happened, or shall we save it for the next? Ladies and gentlemen, we won't tell what happened, because the Count is still here with us. There's a lot more to explain. There's a lot more to explore. Ladies and gentlemen, to friendship, history, reincarnation, and of course, an amazing pioneer that created the American wine world, the Count of Buena Vista!